Arrest this trespasser. Now, that's what the HOA president actually screamed when 5 patrol cars rolled up and I stepped out of my own moving truck. On my own land. I'd owned that ranch for a week, paid cash, had all the paperwork, but apparently to this woman that didn't matter. According to her, I was illegally occupying community property, which is hilarious considering I'd specifically bought the place because it wasn't in an HOA. Name's Walter Hayes, 50 years old. I spent 25 years managing warehouses in Houston, busting my tail to save enough for a quiet retirement. My late wife, Margaret, God rest her soul, always dreamed of a little ranch where we could grow old together. She passed from cancer 3 years ago, but I swore I'd find us that place. So when I pulled onto that ranch outside Cedarville, Texas, saw the rolling hills, the old red barn, the white fence, just like the one from our first home, I knew I'd found it. What I didn't know was that I'd also inherited a full-blown neighborhood tyrant named Brenda Voss. I hadn't even shut off the engine when she came storming across the property line like she was leading a cavalry charge. Arms waving, yelling something about HOA jurisdiction and how no one moves in without her approval. I stepped out of the truck, calm as could be, and told her she had the wrong idea, that I owned this property, that it wasn't in any HOA. Showed her the deed and everything. But that just made her madder. She slapped the documents out of my hand literally and started yelling that I was a forger, a squatter, a danger to the community. Then she whipped out her phone and dialed 911, right there putting on a performance that would have made Hollywood proud, crying into the camera saying I'd threatened her. All I'd said was, "Good morning." By the time the cops arrived 3 cars deep, she was at my gate filming a TikTok tear fest. Officer Brooks, poor guy, looked like he'd dealt with her before. He reviewed my papers, confirmed I was right, and politely told her I had every legal right to be there. Brenda wasn't having it. Said I was a criminal and this was a crime against the community. When Brooks told her she was the one wasting resources and she'd better knock it off, she slapped a handwritten final warning on my gate and stormed off. That night I introduced myself to my neighbor Evelyn Harper, 70 years old and sharp as a whip. Over sweet tea on her porch, she filled me in. Brenda had been terrorizing folks in Cedarville for years, not just HOA members, anyone who crossed her invisible lines. She once tried to evict a family for blocking her sunset view, filed a noise complaint against a toddler's birthday party. You get the picture. Next morning, I got a text from an anonymous number, a photo of my ranch with the caption, "Your chickens are a health hazard. Environmental inspection coming soon. Concerned citizen." Evelyn took one look and said, "That's Brenda's burner phone. She pulls that trick whenever someone doesn't kiss her ring." Later that week, I slipped into a public HOA meeting just to see what I was up against. Brenda stood up at the podium like a war general talking about the eyesore on Morrison Ranch and how my white fence was a blight visible from the highway. She bragged openly about hiring an environmental firm to find something wrong with my land. They always do. She smirked. I recorded the whole thing. That night, I called my son Evan, 28 badge-carrying officer, 3 counties over, and told him everything. Turns out he'd been working on a broader HOA fraud investigation, and Brenda's name rang a bell. "Keep recording," he said. "This might go deeper than we thought." The next day, a fake inspection crew showed up at my gate. I asked for their credentials. They had none. I recorded it all, and they drove off fast once they saw I wasn't playing. Then came the viral video. Brenda fake crying on camera, stumbling through my yard, calling me an animal abuser, saying my farm was poisoning children. Thousands of views, hundreds of angry comments. I couldn't believe it. Reporters started calling. Strangers found my number and left threats. This woman wasn't just dangerous, she was good at it. Then came the letter from her husband, Harold Voss, big shot lawyer. Said I was violating codes and had 30 days to comply. Except I had pulled every permit. Every I dotted, every T crossed. My lawyer reviewed everything, said their claims were garbage, but I still had to pay him to reply. That night I saw Brenda sneaking through my yard at 2 a.m., kicking over my feed bins, ripping up tomato plants, muttering to herself. I recorded every second. Crystal clear footage. Evelyn showed up the next day with an old HOA report showing $50,000 missing from the landscaping budget, funneled through a company partially owned by Brenda's nephew. The noose was tightening. At the next community meeting, Brenda tried again to paint me as the villain. Said I was aggressive, dangerous, hostile. But Evelyn wasn't having it. She stood up, waved receipts, and called her out spa trips, steak dinners, fake landscaping jobs. People started murmuring. Brenda cracked. I made this town respectable, she screamed, and he ruined everything with his stupid white fence. Then I played the recording, Brenda admitting she faked the inspection. Dead silence. Officer Brooks stood up from the back and said, "Mrs. Voss, this is going to the district attorney." A week later, Brenda was caught on my security cam again, this time spraying bleach on my tomatoes. I called the cops. She was arrested on the spot. 3 weeks later, during a packed special hearing, her lawyer husband tried to defend her, said, "I was running a witch hunt," said the evidence was doctored. That's when Evan walked in full uniform, flanked by officers and a DA rep. "Brenda Voss, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and criminal conspiracy across multiple jurisdictions." Turns out she'd been doing this in other towns too. I wasn't her first victim, just the one who didn't back down. She was led out of that room screaming about white fences and betrayal, her designer shoes getting pecked by my chickens who wandered in through an open door. The place erupted in laughter. One kid yelled, "Chicken justice." 3 months later, Brenda got 18 months in prison, 5 years probation, and had to pay back nearly $250,000. Harold divorced her. Evelyn got elected HOA president and immediately repealed the fence color rules. The neighborhood started talking again, sharing meals, stories, healing. At the celebration barbecue, I hosted neighbors, came up to shake my hand, apologize, laugh. Evan pulled me aside and said, "Dad, Brenda wasn't alone. We're taking down a whole ring of corrupt HOA leaders." All I wanted was to honor Margaret, to keep a promise. What I got was a war. But in the end, the fence stayed white, the chickens stayed happy, and Cedarville started feeling like home. And just when I thought it was over, a letter slid under my gate. Elegant handwriting. No return address. "Your ranch is lovely. It would be a shame if something happened to it." Yeah, seems Brenda wasn't the final boss. So tell me, what would you do next? Call it paranoia or just good instincts, but I'm keeping the camera rolling. If you've ever dealt with power-hungry HOAs or neighborhood tyrants, sound off in the comments. Let's hear your story.